Hey Ronnie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I know that we've met previously, but I just want to go over again the informed consent and that we will be videotaping this, but it's just for educational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And is it okay if I take some notes during our session as well? Okay, thank you.
Just not anything too insane.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been a busy couple weeks. I just was offered a promotion.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, kind of a promotion. I guess it's more of a job offering. It's in the school system, but it'll be back home in Oregon.
Okay.
And it's for a school psychologist instead of a school counselor position.
That's exciting. I remember us talking previously that you've always wanted to be a school psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
So that must be really nice and exciting.
It is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like since I've known you, you've worked very hard to get to this point.
Took me a while to get my PhD, but I finally finished that 6 months ago, and it's I didn't think it'd be this fast to get a job, let alone a job back home. The job's actually at my old middle school.
Wow.
And high school.
So you will be moving from Durham out to Oregon?
If we decide to take it, yes.
Has there been some doubts about taking it?
There's just some concerns about moving back and just a lot of things, kind of pro-con on the...
You want to discuss some of those concerns?
Some of the concerns, my boyfriend just became a store manager for Gymboree down in Raleigh.
Okay.
And so he's, not able to move home. He'd have to quit his job. He's not able to transfer because he hasn't been there long enough. And so that would really strain us financially. And he just got this job, so I don't know if we're financially set to move across the country. Mm-hmm. It is an expensive move. So that's been one of our big things, is the financial stability. The biggest thing is I just found out I'm pregnant with twins. And that's been a big shock for us.
Okay.
So, we know we wanted kids. We were not planning on having them quite yet, and we were not planning on having two.
So, what I'm hearing is that this job is something you've always wanted, but if you take it, your fiance will have to quit the job that he has. And as a family, and a family that will be having two kids shortly, you're not sure if financially you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, it's that, and my doctors and everything, and having to switch halfway through the pregnancy. And just, there's a lot to consider about this decision.
Yeah. No, it definitely sounds like a tough decision. A lot of factors going in. So now we talked about the cons. What are some of the positive aspects of taking this job?
We would be closer to family. Neither of us I have my grandparents here, and that is the only family we have. None of his family is here. They're all back on the West Coast.
Okay. That could be very helpful with the two kids.
It could be helpful, but I think the other thing we're thinking about is how it's going to be extremely unhelpful. Both our families are very different. They want the child raised differently. They both want to kidnap the child.
Okay.
So I feel like we're going to have a lot of extra opinions on how to raise our children, and I don't think I can handle that as much. So,
can I ask you to maybe elaborate a little bit on what your personal relationship is with your family, and your fiance's with his?
Well, I'm definitely closer with my family. My family dynamic is a lot different because we're very open. We don't keep secrets. Everyone knows each other's biz. I am close with them, but I know me and my mom and my sister, we all get on each other's nerves. My mom is very controlling, Here I am, 27 years old, and she's still wanting to control my life. And so I'm just worried that's going to be a issue. He, with his family, he's kind of close with them. He's the baby. Even though he's the oldest, he's the baby.
Okay.
Because he has 3 half-siblings. And even though their father took him on, he is his mom's first, and she raised him before the rest on her own. His biological father was never in the picture, just as my biological father not in the picture. We both have stepfathers who stepped up. So, I don't know, we have different dynamics and closeness with our families.
Okay. So what have you spoken, I'm sure you've spoken with your fiance about the pro and con list?
We've kind of discussed it a little bit. Another thing is, he doesn't really want to discuss the pregnancy yet. His family's very superstitious, and they don't want to make any plans until after the first trimesters, and I'm only 8 weeks along. And so they're like, it's not, they're just, because, the first trimester is the highest chance of miscarriage. And so they're just like, no, let's not jinx it.
Okay, and you said that this pregnancy was somewhat planned? Like you guys always intended on having children, just maybe not right now.
Yeah.
Okay. How was his reaction when y'all found out?
We were both pretty excited. It was an interesting story. So I woke up that morning and I went and took the tests, and he's laying in bed sleeping, and I run up to the side of the bed. I'm sitting on the ground look, and he's like, what? He's like, does that say you're pregnant? And I'm like, yeah. And he kind of got excited.
Well, that's good. That sounds like it was met with positive.
It was
positive
We
reaction.
were excited. I don't think we were ready for the shock of 2.
Right. Well, I mean, twins. They always say, I don't know if anyone's ever ready for twins. But
I mean, my mom, she had me and my sister. We're twins.
Oh, you're a twin. Okay.
Identical twins, and she had our brother just a year later, so she had 3 under the age of 2. So that was
I'm going to go back and just focus a little bit more on the issue that you wanted to come in to discuss with. So, about taking this job in Oregon or not. Have you made a kind of visualization of what you would like to do?
I mean, I think it'd be nice to move home. We did move here, I was 22, so 5 years ago, to complete some stuff. And so, we're just at a point where we're ready to probably move home and start the family. We do want to be settled down before the child's 5.
Okay.
Our first child, because we want to be settled down when they start school, so that they're in the same house, same school district their entire time.
Okay. Now, say you hadn't gotten this job, had you guys discussed moving home previously? Was this part of a plan?
It was part of an eventually plan.
Okay.
I mean, we knew we weren't going to stay out here forever, but I think we were enjoying our independence and freedom. So I knew we always wanted to move home because we are both. He's Hispanic, so he comes from a very family-oriented culture, and my family is also extremely family-oriented, family before anything else.
Okay.
So I think it was in the plan. We just never set a date.
Right. So I mean, sometimes babies and jobs make things happen maybe a little bit faster than you thought that they would.
A lot faster. I mean, I've had connections back home, and my old high school counselor, who's helped me through my entire process of bachelor's, master's, PhD, kind of set this up for me.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was actually pretty exciting. She's amazing. She is a school counselor, and she kind of got me started in this path.
That's great to hear. My father was a school counselor as well. I have much respect for school counselors. So other than maybe your family being a little over involved in finances, are there any other real big issues that you can think of?
The biggest one is my grandparents live out here.
Oh, okay. Can you
And
just excuse me for 1 second? Allergies.
Oh, I understand.
So your grandparents are out here?
Yes, they live on a goat farm here in Burlington.
Okay.
Well, outside Burlington. And so they're the reason I moved out here, and then he followed me. And we always thought when we moved back, my grandparents would move back with us. And so we're not sure if that's going to happen, and I just don't want to leave them out here on their own again.
Okay. How are your grandparents' health? How are they?
My grandmother is showing signs for early Alzheimer's. So it does run in her family. Her mother had it. So it's kind of worrisome leaving her here. My granddad's had to have a couple surgeries for his knee and back, but he's a pretty tough man. He comes from a long line of strong men. So I'm not so worried about him, just more for in her memory.
And had they discussed with you, or had you just assumed that they would move back to Oregon?
They kept telling my mom they were going to, but then they kept telling me they didn't want to go back to Oregon. Why would they ever want that?
Yeah.
So it's just...
Have you talked to them about maybe you guys moving back?
A little bit. They did at some point. My grandmother said if she did move back, it definitely wouldn't be till I moved back.
Okay.
Which is, upsetting to my mother, but, I mean, they got one grandchild. They're happy. They got goats. We grew up on a farm, so they're not going to have that kind of stuff if they move back to Oregon.
Right.
So, and, taking someone who's extremely active at old age and putting them in a place where they're not going to be active is also not really all that safe for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely hard when you have other family members to work around, other issues. But I think most importantly that you're very focused. You seem very focused on your own future, and your fiance, and your 2 children. 2 future children.
2 future children
again. So, have you come to any sort of decision, you think, or?
I don't think we've come to. I don't have to make the decision for 2 months.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I know that sounds like a lot of time, but I know I'm going to be like, nah, we'll put it off, and the day's going to come, and I'll be like, crap, I don't know what to do. And I guess it's just hard to move across country, because we're not going to have time to fly out there and find a house and all this stuff, and I don't want to live with my parents or his parents, because all of his siblings still live with his parents, except for one, and then all of my siblings live with my parents. So they've got a full house. That and, they've got 7 cats, 2 birds, and I really don't know if I want the cats around the baby just because apparently they like the warmth and will sleep on their face. So my mother tells me.
Yeah. No, that does sound like it'd be a bit of a crowded household.
It would be. Because my parents live in a house, but his parents live in a small apartment with his other siblings, so that there's definitely not room for either of us.
Yeah. So, I'm just gonna kind of repeat back to you what you've told me and remind me if I'm missing anything. So you've been offered basically a dream job that you've always wanted, working back at your old school, but it would include having to move back to Oregon, where you'd have to find a house and you'd have to pay for the moving, correct? And your fiance would have to leave his job. But on the upside, you'd be near family that could help you with the twins, right? And grandparents. So that's kind of on the con list. You have to leave your grandparents, but they may eventually move out to Oregon.
Hopefully.
Well, it sounds like you have a tough decision to make, and really one that only I feel like you can be in control of.
Yeah.
Well, you and your fiance.
Of course,
it's kind of a dual. When do you think you'll be ready to talk about the pregnancy? Because that is a major factor.
I mean, I'm ready. I believe it's a baby from the get-go, and I want to celebrate it. I do understand them wanting to wait, but in the same respect, it's something that needs to be taken into consideration in this situation. I love him to death, but this needs to be decided. Especially, I mean, if we're getting married in August, so that would be about a month after we'd be moving home. So, I mean, we both do want to get married in Oregon, and I feel like it's kind of playing out to where this would be the best thing, but it's just keeping all these pros and cons in mind.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of hard decisions have long lists on both ends. You know what I mean? It's not easy, but I think you're on a really good path of figuring out what the best option for you and your fiance are. I think it's a really good sign that you're putting this much thought into it, because a lot of times when someone gets the job of their dreams, they don't really take into account how it affects everybody else. So I'd say that's really great that I think you're kind of have a really open mind to it.
Yeah. It's just a lot to take in,
Yeah.
It's been making me extremely stressed, and, not being able to eat or keep anything down, and I just always tired, and I'm like, I need to relax, and this is not helping.
Now, say you did decide to stay in Durham. are there any job openings that would be a school psychologist around here? I know it wouldn't be ideal. You wouldn't be in your hometown school, but are there similar positions available to you?
Not that I've found. I do currently work as a school counselor, and I have been looking, but, no, there haven't been a lot. Some schools, you know, they share one, so it's one per, like, middle school and high school and stuff, like how it would be back at home. So the demand for them isn't as high.
Okay. Well, it's good that you're looking, because that shows that I feel like you're keeping your options open, you know? Just gonna check.
It's 15.
Oh, it's 15? Okay.
That's why I keep putting my hands up.
So is there any other issues, or is this kind of the most all-consuming?
I think, well, I mean, between the job, the pregnancy, and now deciding to get married, not because we're pregnant, but because we had been planning on that before we found I was pregnant, I think is all kind of bringing it together.
Yeah, it's a lot of little, not little problems, but a lot of problems kind of all combined into one.
Yeah.
And now, have you been able to speak, like, do you talk to your family about what's bothering you, and talk to...
I try, but, you know, my mother and I, if anything is remotely stressful, she goes off on me for stressing myself out, or for causing problems. I love my mother, but I can't handle her. And I think that would be a big con about moving home, because it would be in the same town as them. And I don't know if I could handle that. My fiance, it's still weird to adjust to. He is not a huge, him and my mom get along, but he doesn't like the way my mom treats me or how much she tries to control me. So it's intriguing.
Would you ever be able, like, would you be able to move back and not live in the same town? And just commute, you know, to your job?
It's a possibility. I know a lot of people do that. I know some of my high school teachers used to do that. They used to do videos of them carpooling together. It was really funny. So I think it's an option. We could definitely move to Bend or Redmond and do it. Another thing we'll have to take into consideration is if he does quit his job and decides he is currently trying to become a firefighter again.
Okay.
And so maybe looking into those jobs, that'll also depend. We need to make sure we're living somewhere where we both have a job.
Right. No, that's important.
So.
I think it's important, too, for him that it doesn't feel like he's giving up everything, you know?
And, I mean, his ultimate goal would to be a firefighter back in Kaiser, where he's from. And so it's just intriguing.
And how far away is Kaiser from where?
4 hours.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's probably more than 4 hours. Probably 4.5.
Okay.
Depending on the route you take.
Okay. So the babies would be closer to your family than your fiance's family?
If we lived in La Pine. But if we lived in Kaiser, it would be closer to his than mine. And we thought about maybe moving to Eugene. I don't know if you're familiar with Oregon, but Eugene's kind of like the middle point. But I
went
also
to Portland once.
I avoid Portland. It scares me. And so I know I want to live in a small town. That's my only thing, is I'm a small town girl, and I would like to grow up in a small community where I know I have the support I need, which is why I want to go back to La Pine. It's just the community sense that I need.
Yeah. Well, honestly, to me, it sounds like you have some problems that seem really overwhelming, but I would give yourself some credit. I feel like not very many people know exactly what they want, and it sounds like you do. You know that you want a small town. You know that there are certain issues that won't be easy if you do move home. It's like you're almost expecting that, you know, your family might become over involved. And I think you're doing a great job in thinking about your fiance and the sacrifices he would have to make if he were to move. So I would give yourself some credit for that, because I think a lot of people don't take all of that into account.
Lists. Make lots of lists. And I guess I was just currently planning on just a wedding, not moving and having children.
Right.
And so now having to put the wedding more on the back burner because it's the farthest out thing. I'm just trying to keep all of this and keep him in mind, but at the same point I'm like, I really wanted to be married before we have a child.
Yeah.
And it's just everything's out of order of the way I wanted it.
Yeah. And I feel like a difficulty is that some of the things are very time sensitive, you know, like accepting the job and babies, you know.
I don't get to choose the date of the babies.
Yeah, but it's, you know, you can't push those back. Those are pretty set in stone.
Yep.
So that's difficult.
It is. I think this would be easier if we had been settled down more prior. You know, him working at Gymboree longer so he could transfer. Because, I mean, when he was moving from Oregon to here, he was supposed to transfer, and he ended up not being there quite long enough. So they ended up not transferring him.
Okay. And how long ago did he move from Oregon to here?
4 years ago.
Okay.
So I was living here almost a year before he did.
Okay. So you've been here 5 years, and he's been here 4 years. Has North Carolina ever felt like home to you?
Not really. I really don't have anyone here. I have maybe 2 friends and my grandparents. You know, I did go to school here. My first school wasn't very welcoming, and I didn't really enjoy it and didn't feel like I could be close to anyone. And then my PhD, you know, I was just so focused on school that I didn't really have anyone there either.
Sounds like maybe, have you had some feelings of loneliness?
Yes. I know before he moved here, my depression was really bad. I still had it when he moved here, and I think I still go through bouts of depression, which isn't making this easy. I think my depression and my anxiety are really what are making this harder.
Yeah. If you could, can you explain to me some feelings you have when you're feeling depressed or anxious?
I mean, my depression, I can't talk to anyone. I don't want to be around anyone. I'm crying, and I don't know why I'm crying. I just kind of sit at home and run Netflix in the background. I won't even cuddle him or have anything to do with him. My anxiety, I just go through this thing where I feel so overwhelmed, and I'm freaking out and panicking over things that will work out. I overthink everything, and it sends me into like this massive hot mess situation.
Well, it sounds like you've had experience with this in the past. Have you been able to overcome some of these hardships before? What are some techniques that you do?
I guess when I was in my undergraduate, I had a lot of these issues, and one of the things was making sure I'm here and now and not there and then. And weirdly enough, the thing that would help the most was a hot shower blasting current music, or like a steamy bathroom or something. It was intriguing. You know, punching walls wasn't anything, but that was not a healthy thing. Especially since I hurt my hand. I used to be on medication, but that didn't really help, and the medications always had a really bad side effect. So, I used to do Zumba. That was my other thing, was Zumba. But don't really.
I was going to say, well, it sounds like you have learned some ways to deal with it, which is great. Some people don't at all. But maybe you could channel it. You say, I don't know, you made me laugh when you said punching walls. But I know, at least I personally, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I go to a kickboxing class. And it's kind of good for anger management, and but some, you know, maybe healthy choices to help you deal with your feelings, because they can be overwhelming for sure.
I mean, I wish I had been working out prior, because I know I can't just start taking on these extra now that I'm pregnant, but maybe finding something I can do.
Yeah, maybe some like meditation, some breathing
Yoga.
classes. Yeah.
Maybe finding some support groups, maybe other moms who are in that situation.
I think that's a great idea, because I definitely don't think you're alone in feeling overwhelmed, especially having twins and with all these other decisions. I think that would be enough to make most people feel kind of anxious and overwhelmed and maybe depressed. So I think it's really great that it seems that you're at least self-aware. You know what I mean? You know yourself, and you know how you deal when you are feeling that way. So maybe get ahead of the curve a little bit.
Yeah.
How does your fiance react with you when you're feeling?
His culture does not believe in depression, anxiety. We believe you do it to yourself. It's kind of God does everything for a reason. So he's not helpful during that. He just sits there like you're overreacting for no reason, which makes it just that much harder.
Yeah. That is hard.
I know lately I've been over emotional and depressed, and he's not helping the situation. So it's just difficult.
And I'm sure you've tried to communicate with him the way that you feel about it, right?
And I guess our biggest thing is he understands his culture, and he's not willing to accept that I have a culture because I am white.
Okay.
And I don't know why there's some kind of thing associated with you're white, you don't really have a culture, but there is, and that's how he sees it. So he's not willing to understand that my family has traditions and we have a culture.
How does that make you feel when he tells you don't have a culture and that the way you're feeling is made up, basically?
It really bothers me. I mean, just because I'm white does not mean that I don't belong to something. I mean, sure, I'm considered Euro-American, but I mean, my culture is German, we have a little bit of Italian, and we do have different things brought into our family. So the nice thing is our family's quite diverse. We do have a big different people from families marrying in and such.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's hurtful. You feel hurt. Okay. I mean, I think that's understandable. I would feel hurt as well. Well, we only have a few more minutes left in this session. So what we've covered so far is this pretty big decision that you need to make about moving back home, accepting a job, being by family, which could be good or bad. But that would mean leaving here, which would mean your fiance leaving his job, leaving your grandparents. Yet it also sounds that North Carolina hasn't been the most easy for you to feel rooted here. And so, I mean, I think we kind of made a verbal pro and con list. We also kind of talked about your kind of feelings of depression and anxiety and some things that you could maybe do. Look into support group. I think that was a great idea. Maybe do some meditation, some breathing exercises. I know it kind of sounds like you're feeling a little hurt and frustrated with your fiance and his reactions to your emotions and your culture. So I think maybe you should be clear with him and say, that it really hurts your feelings and you'd like him to stop. Is there anything we didn't cover?
No, I think that sums it all.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, it is a very hard decision. I think you are the one that's in control. And I think from what I said, and have said it a few times already, I think right now you feel overwhelmed, but I actually think that you have a really clear direction. At least you're thinking about this in a very in-depth way. All right, well, I will see you next week, and we can think about these during this week, and maybe we'll give you a little homework assignment. You can look into finding a support group, because that was your suggestion, which makes me think maybe that was something that you think would work well with you. Okay. I'll see you next week. You're welcome.
Of course.